Okay, before we go into the last part of our day, I'm going to share this with you. This is our Fear to Love certification that we are currently doing. And we're traveling all over the country. And my goal is to be able to train others, both parents and professionals, to go deeper into this model, to learn it more effectively, and to eventually become certified and be coaches and be able to share this method with other adoptive parents. We want to create a movement. And so we are currently in the midst of our first Cohort 1 certification. And this is not only an opportunity, we have parents that are going through it right now so that they get ongoing. I meet with my certification students 3 times a month virtually. And then we do 2 sessions, and then we do a Q&A. Right now we're recording all of it live. And then eventually certification level 1 will be all recorded virtually. But it's not only an opportunity for you to grow in your personal life and in your professional life, but it's also an opportunity for you to build a business. This is something that you can take and teach others and create programs in your own communities, and something that I mentor you to be able to do. So if any of you have a passion for helping others and feel like you might want to bring this into your family and into your life and into your community and get certified and learn to teach it and learn to share it with other families and learn how to create another stream of income for yourselves, then this is the opportunity to be able to do that. So it's called Fear to Love certification, and it is something that we're very actively doing now. So if you're interested, feel free to talk to me afterwards. Feel free to reach out afterwards. You can email our team, whatever you need to be able to answer your questions and move you forward in that process. So right now you can still join the cohort that is going through it live with me. In the future, level 2 is where you'll get more of the personal interaction with me. But right now, level 1, everything's being taught live. So you can still join that, and this currently enrolls you for level 1 and level 2. So just something for you to think about. And would love to have you on the team and bring you further into this work. So now we're going to shift back to the cognitive. And this part is important for answering your questions. I love to do role plays. You should know if you ask me a question, it's probably going to end up in a role play, because I feel like that's the most powerful way to really bring the learning home for you. So we're going to go into the cognitive, try to bring all this together for you so that when you go home, you have something that you are going to bring home today to create impact. And that is my sole mission and goal for all of this. So the stress model I developed 20 years ago. And what happened is 20 years ago, as I was lecturing, parents would come up and they would tell me these situations, and it always starts with describing behaviors and describing what led up to the behaviors, and I would be listening, and then one day I stopped listening to the behavior. I stopped listening to the behavior, and I started listening to the stress that led up to the behavior. And as I started listening to the stress that led up to the behavior, what I stopped doing is, number 1, getting overwhelmed by the behavior itself. And number 2, I started giving parents insights into the stress and the fear that was leading up to the behavior. And if I can give you an insight into the stress and the fear leading up to the behavior, guess what you never get to? The behavior. And that became the breakthrough. And that's how I created the stress model. The stress model says all behavior arises from a state of stress. All behavior arises from a state of stress. And in between the behavior and the stress is the presence of a primary emotion. There are only two primary emotions, love and fear. It is through the expression, the processing, and the understanding of the fear that we calm the stress and diminish the behavior. So I'm going to back up. We're going to go through that again. All behavior arises from a state of stress. In between the behavior and the stress is the presence of a primary emotion. There are only two primary emotions, love and fear. It is through the expression, the processing, and the understanding of the behavior that we calm the stress and diminish the behavior. Calm the fear, calm the stress, diminish the behavior. And here's what you have to understand. So this is how the model becomes dynamic. Here's what I understood. All behavior demonstrated by your child that arises from their stress causes you stress. Causes you stress. And in between your behavior, that behavior and your stress is the presence of a primary emotion. There are two primary emotions, love and fear. So that stress leads to that fear which drives your behavior. So when your child is stressed out and acting out, you become stressed out, and that stress drives your fear which drives your behavior. And that is called a negative neurophysiologic feedback loop. And that becomes a conditioned experience. This is very important. So what has to happen is we have to see our children's behavior. We have to realize that their behavior comes from stress, and that stress is driving their own fear. But then most importantly, we have to realize that their behavior causes us stress. And the first thing we have to do is we have to calm our fear and move back into a place of love so that love can guide our behavior. So fear may be guiding their behavior, but we've got to be able to calm ourselves down, because otherwise fear starts guiding our behavior too. So we've got to calm ourselves down. And when we calm ourselves down and we get our thinking online and our short-term memory back activated because we are breathing, we shift from an energy of fear into a vibration of love. And what you have to understand is that love and fear cannot coexist. Where one is, the other one isn't. So when you are stressed, you are going to be operating with an energy of fear, and that is going to drive your behavior. So you have got to breathe. You have got to calm that stress, calm that fear, acknowledge that fear, understand that fear, express it even if you need to. Calm it and shift over to love. And then let love guide your behaviors. So can I share your story, what you just shared with me? Because this is a perfect example. Mom says, I've been getting this, I've been doing this, I've been pouring into my kids for 14 years, co-regulating them, doing all I can. I'm a little tired. I realize I still got 4 and 2 years left, but I'm getting tired. And recently I went with my oldest to a golf thing, and my youngest, she had a hard time and she struggled. And now my oldest has another golf thing coming. Do I not go so I can take care of my youngest? Everybody follow that? So first of all, I'm going to give you this thing. It's called the A to Z principle. Here's what you do. On the bottom of your notes, on the bottom of your notes on your worksheet, right here. So I want you to write A. I want you to write an A. And then I want you to come to the end of that line and I want you to write a Z. And right in front of that Z, I want you to write X and Y. Then I want you to circle it. And then I want you to draw a line from A all the way to XYZ. Yeah, just a long line. All the way from A to XYZ. Got it? Now, right up here above Z, Z is the behavior. Write the behavior. Right above Z, the behavior. Underneath that, write outcome. Underneath X, Y, and Z, so above X, Y, and Z, you write behavior. Underneath, write outcome. Now go back out here to A, and underneath A, write process. Underneath A, write process. This is called the A to Z principle. In our society, when there is a behavior, we focus on Z. Z is the behavior. And because of stress, the furthest we can look is X and Y. That's it. Because stress only sees problems. Because fear only says fix it. Fear only says fix it. And when you're stressed, the furthest you can look is X and Y. So you have X and Y and Z. But in order of the alphabet, in order to get to Z, where do you have to start? A. A. How many characters are there in the alphabet? 26, right? 26, right? So if you start with A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, P, all the way out to X, Y, and Z, what that tells you is that when you work from love, you start at A, and you have 23, 24, 25 different things and variables that can impact Z. You see what I'm saying? So Z is the behavior. When you are stressed and you're fearful, you operate at X, Y, and Z, and you feel helpless and more stressed and more overwhelmed. But if you take a deep breath and you slow down and you come to A and you say, okay, I know Z is the behavior, but how can I impact Z if I come and start at A? If I come all the way back and start at A. See, now a lot of times what you have to do is you have to go ahead and mess up and get Z. You have to go ahead and do it. So I always say, when you go home today, as soon as possible, fail. Go home and screw up as fast as you can. It's the most beautiful thing ever. Because for me, it's not failing, it's growing. So I don't ever see messing up as failing. I see it as growing. And every opportunity is a lesson. It's an opportunity for growth. So if you go home and you mess up as soon as you can, after it's done and all the dust is settled, and everyone's calmed down and done whatever, and you've cleaned up the mess that got created during the big explosion, then I want you to say, oh, that was Z. What could I have done? How far back could I have worked? And what could I have done at A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, to get to a different outcome than Z? So then mom says, okay, my daughter having a full-fledged panic attack, losing it on the neighbors or friends or whoever, and having a bad day at school and not doing her work while I'm off with Big Brother, that's Z. What can I do at A to start preparing her? So I said, you go. You don't not go on the golf. It's important. See, one of the things we forget that we do as parents is 90% of the time you're doing a fantastic job. You're doing an awesome job. 90% of the time. And you know how I know that your kids are going to be okay? Because you're in this room. Only parents that pour into themselves and into their children and want to do better show up. That's it. Other parents just keep reacting from the past, expecting a different result. So I know you want to do better. because you're stretching yourself. You're investing. You're learning. 90% of the time, you're doing great. It's only the 10% of the time when the stress overwhelms you that you might mess up. So you go slow down and back up and go as far back as you can. And so I say, you just say to your daughter, hey, next Friday, hey, that was tough. We went on the trip. You had a hard time. That sucks. Makes me sad. We made it through. Guess what? Next Friday, I'm going again. So what can we do differently this time? How can I support you better this time? So I'm going to make sure you have all the right foods, and I'm going to make sure you have lots of hugs and lots of love, and I'm going to call you, and I'm going to text you, and we're going to set this alarm clock, and we're going to talk to this person, and then we're going to check in, and we're going to check in some more. We might even practice it. We might even do a practice run. So Wednesday before I leave, we're going to think it's actually Friday, but Wednesday we're going to pretend it's Friday, and we're going to practice. So, all right, honey, it's time to wake up. Mom's leaving today. No, go ahead and tell me. Say, don't go, Mom, don't go. I'm scared, Mom. I'm going to die without you. Let's do it. Let's go ahead and practice it. Let's go through all the feelings. No, don't go, Mom. Grab my leg. Grab my leg. Hang on to me. Hang on to me. Let's practice it. Okay, that was good. We made it through. You're going to be okay, honey. I'm going to be okay as your mom. I'm going to be okay because I get sad too. I worry because you get sad. Because when you're sad, I'm sad, and then we're both sad, and then we're both stressed. And then I don't really even enjoy being at brother's golf tournament. So then I'm like, I don't even want to do it. And then if I stay home, you're going to feel guilty that I stayed home because you're sad. And then you're going to feel guilty because mom didn't get to go support brother. Now we still all feel bad. But we know that we're going to be okay, don't we? So what do we got to do to change the outcome of Z? And that's the A to Z principle. And every behavior works that way. There are no surprises. You are the experts of your children. You are the experts. You already know. You already know. You already know what's going to happen when you get home. So don't get caught off guard. Expect it. Expect it. Because they've been using their window of tolerance all day. See, this is a beautiful thing. Another beautiful thing of how great of a job you've been doing. This is a perfect example of how great of a job you've been doing as parents. Because you're here and most of you have not gotten a phone call. You know why you haven't gotten a phone call? Because your kids are using their window of tolerance that you have helped them build by co-regulating them and helping restore it and helping to strengthen it so that when you're gone, guess what they have to rely on? Their window of tolerance. Now, by the end of today, that window of tolerance is going to get small. When are y'all coming home? I miss you. I want you to be home. Is it tomorrow yet? It's getting smaller. Where did you go? You've been gone all day. I didn't think you were coming back. I'm mad at you. I don't want that. They're just stressed. They're just stressed. So the first thing you have to do is calm yourself down. Because their stress will invite you into your stress. And if their stress invites you into your stress, now both of you are stressed. And whose responsibility is it to maintain the calm? The adult. The kid can't do it. The freaking kids don't even have the full ability until they're in their 20s. And that is in healthy development, healthy pregnancy, healthy homes. When you all of a sudden tie in adoption and trauma and loss and grief and abuse and neglect, it's delayed. It's going to be delayed for years sometimes. So just in normal situations, it's 20 before they're actually adults. We just call it 18. So the stress model says you have to realize that that behavior is causing you stress. And the first thing you have to do is you have to calm your stress. You calm that stress to shift that vibration of fear back to a vibration of love. Because I can't be supportive when I'm stressed out and scared. Actually, all I can do is reinforce what you already feel. I can only grow what you already feel. Even if I'm doing, well, honey, it's going to be okay. Even if I look calm. I'm sending you a vibration of stress and fear. When you are calm and walking on eggshells, you are not calm. You are stressed out. You are stressed out. It is better for you to just acknowledge, I feel sad too, honey. I'm really scared about leaving. I'm really sorry. I don't want to let you down. I feel so bad when you get sad and feel anxious and have panic attacks and I get scared and I'm not here. Acknowledge that. Because when you don't acknowledge how you feel, your kids misinterpret how you feel based on how they feel. And they always blame themselves. We always blame ourselves. We always say, I must have did something wrong. What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? And most of the time it has nothing to do with you at all. This is the other really interesting thing about that. Remember your amygdala, your fear receptor in your brain? That's why we take things personally. You know, people are always telling you, don't take it personally, don't take it personally. It's physiologically impossible to not take it personally. Because the moment a person is behaving however they're behaving, your amygdala turns on your whole cellular system. Now it is very personal. It is very personal. So initially, you have to take it personally. You ain't got no choice. So you just have to acknowledge that, breathe that down, realize you're not going to die, and then see that person for what they're doing, what they're experiencing, what they're going through, what that could be tied to. It has nothing to do with you in actuality. Your child's behaviors actually have nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with their stories and their grief that they haven't gone through and their anxieties and their fears and their overwhelms. It has nothing to do with you, but we personalize it and we make it about us. And when we do that, we make it very hard for our kids. 3 pathways of emotional expression. We all have 3 pathways through which we express emotion. Now, what is an emotion? Emotion is energy in motion. Remember, it's all vibration. It's all vibration. Alan Shore says the core of the self is unconscious and nonverbal and lies in patterns of affect regulation. Which means it's not what you say, it's not what you do, but it's how you feel when you're doing and saying it. Dad's always quiet at home. Quiet, stoic. You know what your kids are always doing? Scanning you. You ain't got to say a word. They know when you're happy. They know when you're pissed. You ain't got to say nothing. They're just scanning you. And adopted and foster kids have hypersensitive amygdalas. So they are super scanners. You get out of the truck. Your kid's like, oh, Dad's mad. Dad's mad. And then what happens, because that's not conscious for them. See, I'm just scanning that in. My brain's scanning that energetically. And all of a sudden, I'm like, whoa, threat. And that stress triggers my fear, which drives my behavior. And then Dad may not have been mad, but now he is mad. Now he really is mad. It had nothing to do with you. 5 minutes ago, it had nothing to do with you. Now it has everything to do with you. Because Dad says, Dad doesn't even know he was mad. Dad doesn't even know he was stressed. He was tired. He was tired and maybe hungry. And now he's stressed out and acting out. Emotion, energy in motion. We all have 3 pathways through which we express that energy. We have attitudes, feelings, and behaviors. Here's the thing. When you were kids, how many of you could freely roll your eyes and talk back to your parents? Not many of us. Not if we wanted to stay alive. But what did you hear? Don't roll your eyes at me. I will knock your eyeballs into the back of your head. That's pretty common. Like, well, that is such a well-known statement. Isn't that interesting? Don't roll your eyes at me or I will knock your eyeballs into the back of your head or I'll knock your eyeballs right out of your head. It's like that happened. That statement happens so often. It is like a part of our cultural language. Well, what that tells you is that, well, what you don't understand about the 3 pathways of emotional expression, and this is the misinterpretation, this is the old paradigm. The old paradigm says that if a kid rolls their eyes at you or talks back, they're being disrespectful. And if a child's being disrespectful, then they're essentially a threat. Therefore, you don't allow threats to exist. You get rid of the threat. The reality is, rolling your eyes or even talking back is not disrespect. It is a pathway of emotional expression. I'm rolling my eyes in order to express the energy that I need to express in order to transition. Because whatever you asked me to do, I didn't really like hearing it. And because I didn't like hearing it, I roll my eyes. Because I have got to express the energy some way. Because even though I didn't like hearing it, what am I going to do? I'm still going to go do what you asked me to do. But when you've been conditioned to believe that that child rolling their eyes is a sign of disrespect, as soon as they roll their eyes, you're like right on them. And when you're right on them, guess what that energy doesn't get to do? It doesn't get to transition. So now that energy is stuck. So if you can't express through attitudes, what do? You drop the feelings. How many of us could freely have feelings as kids? Not many of us. Kids were made to be seen and not heard. Don't have feelings. Now I can't express my feelings. Don't raise your voice at me. Who are you talking to? Who do you think you're talking to? Right? You can't have feelings. If you can't express through your attitudes, that energy gets suppressed. If you can't express through your feelings and that energy gets suppressed, you only have one other option, is behaviors. How many of us could freely have behaviors? No. You didn't even think about that. That was like the extreme. But guess what we do when it comes to behaviors in our society? We become obsessed about them. And then what do? I always say, you know when you're stressed because you want to control, suppress, and change the behavior. Control, suppress, change the behavior. That's when you know you're stressed because all your amygdala wants to do is remove the threat. That's all the amygdala wants to do. And we've done all this under the auspices that we're good parents. I'm smacking you in the mouth for disrespecting me because I don't want you to grow up being a disrespectful person. That's not true. I'm smacking you because you stress me out. You make me scared. And I don't want you to do that anymore. That's the truth. That's the truth. I don't want you to stress me out. So we create these maladaptive behavior patterns as adults that we invoke upon children, and we give them all this distorted justification, and then we pass that down from one generation to the next generation to the next generation to the point that where you can't even challenge that. I can't even make this, I can't even tell you the things I'm telling you right now without having 1 million people online telling me what a crack I am. I must be a lunatic. How could you ever say that? We are so one-dimensional. We're so past programmed. We can't see beyond that. If you can't express through your attitudes and you can't express through your feelings and you can't express through your behaviors, what's left? Anger and depression. Those are your only 2 options.